Hi guys, my name is Dante, and welcome back to Outlandish Curiosity. So, after a month or two of a break, we're getting back to this. The previous page we did, we're pretty much done with it for now. It's way more detailed than what we needed to do in the first pass of all the pages, or second pass. We're looking at the first pass right here. So now we want to detail this stuff. I'll add my references back to the right side of the screen. There we go. All the jungles, all the frogs, Gilbert references from the previous pages. Yeah, this is the previous page that we did. It was pretty dope. So yeah, let's see what we can do here. I believe, actually, I did a little bit of something in between of nothingness. So this is the details that I introduced on top of what we did the last time we were working on this. So yeah, I introduced a stronger contrast between the sky and Gilbert himself and some foliage as well. And also thought through a little bit of a more interesting silhouette from what the foliage looks like. Stronger contrast between the sky and the land gives us the impression that we're dealing with the real bright sky, so we have to adjust our exposure to the sky, therefore making this a bit too dark. So it looks a bit more real because of that. And yeah, on the second page I pretty much didn't do anything. So yeah, let's continue doing more of the same. I probably want to bring a bit more detail closer to what we have on the first page to the second page. Getting some progress. Was looking at the reference, made sure I repeated these really dark, sharp shadows from all the little bits of dead foliage and bits of trees and everything on the ground, so they get a pretty strong contrast right there with the shadows. So I added these really sharp, dark shadow strokes right there. Looks a bit more real. Made sure that the puddles in the distance, where they get closer to the horizon and therefore more like turning away from us, the ground becomes more flat. Due to the Fresnel effect, the reflection on the puddles in the distance becomes stronger, and in here it's not as strong of a reflection. It feels a bit more real as well, I think. Added 2 tree trunks right there on the left. I think it fits pretty well with the rest of the environment and makes the picture look a bit more legit as a part of the jungle story. So yeah, I guess it's pretty much just a matter of keep on detailing it, so I guess we'll do that. Not really sure what to talk about in the episodes where we just make things nicer the way I always do it. I'll make sure I'll add some legitimate leaves, foliage silhouettes breaking through the aerial perspective or the rain perspective, so it will look more real. Also, we shouldn't forget to add some, at least some, of bigger raindrops visible on both pages, since it is raining and it's not really looking like it's raining yet. So yeah, let's just go ahead and continue listening to music and painting. A whole bunch of painting. Actually, right now I'm also thinking about 2 other things. Number 1 is I want to make sure that the shadow actually doesn't go underneath the frog's butt over here, because it's not sitting, it's dancing, so there will be no actual contact with the ground or with the puddle. So it makes sense that the shadow, or the reflection really, it starts where the foot is. We obviously intended it to be standing on that foot at the moment. Yeah, something like that. Need to make it cleaner. And second thing, I think I want to remove this bush or reposition it to somewhere else because I want to have like a cleaner spot for the frog to dance, and this bush is like standing in the way. Like, it obviously works out in general for the frog at the moment, but it just feels a bit wrong. Like, it would be better if this place would be cleaner. Adding some actual like physical action of the water from the splashing frog, otherwise everything would just look pretty awkward. Should I go with like a much stronger smile on this guy? Most certainly. Yeah, it's such an easy addition as just more complex silhouettes, showing some kind of outlines of leaves makes a pretty big difference. And actually, it's something that a good artist is supposed to do a lot, even when you're painting like from a reference or doing a plein air, sitting in nature with your tablet and painting or with whatever you want. Like, for instance, this picture, if you would be sitting in front of this, which is, by the way, good job on making an effort and finding a reference like that in real life. But, like, for instance, this area right here, a whole bunch of bushes on the left, like, forming some kind of darker wall. It would be an actual mistake to create a painting that would be showing every separate leaf like this in the contrast that they're in. Your job as an artist is to kind of like find the meaning of it. The fact that all of these bushes, all of these leaves, they're shaping up some kind of darker wall in here. So you need to like group them into that shape and show, like emphasize that they're a part of one big shape. And then a little bit show the texture inside, but overall it needs to be looking as something like that. And especially that's very true for when you have like leafy areas. Like, you literally can't make a painting that would look like this. This is just noise. It wouldn't make any sense in brushwork. You can't visualize every single leaf like that. So what cool artists do, they're like finding spots of light and they're grouping it in some kind of like cool shape that it looks like some kind of a layer of leaves. Even though it wasn't like exactly the layer in reality, but you just need to bring things closer to some kind of shapes. Otherwise, what are you really doing? Just perfectly copying the nature with all its chaos? It's not really your job. You need to find some kind of meaning, some kind of special thing about it and emphasize it. That's a thing that I recently discovered, that specifically when you're like trying to learn reality by painting from nature, from real references, you're actually not supposed to just copy them perfectly. Not at all. Otherwise, it's gonna be at least a very bad artwork. and you simply won't learn anything, like what, copying noise? Learning how to create a picture that doesn't make any sense. You're still not going to be creating anything actually worth looking at. One great example that I have, by the way, one artist that I'm following on Instagram, I don't remember his name, I don't remember anyone's name, but he's creating these pictures and he was doing a lot of like no texture challenges. Pretty much he's one of the lasso artists, the ones that like work with just shapes that they select with lasso and then filling them in. And he's doing just so much reference work. I don't know, from photos or from actually being somewhere. He did a lot of car crashes, so I assume that's from photos. But if you look at his artwork, it all feels so satisfyingly shaped up, because lasso requires you to group things into like recognizable shapes, and he has a lot of artwork that is obviously like a study from nature, and you can see how all the trees, all the bushes, they form these cool shapes that you want to look at, and you see that this is definitely from reality, but it's just so much more interesting than just looking at a copy of a photo. So that's a cool thought right there, and that's the thing that I'm trying to like work more towards. Right now, like these drops of water right here, they're literally the opposite of what I just described. I wasn't grouping anything. It just, again, it turns into like white noise. It's just constantly different brushwork, just whatever. It's drops, you know? That's lazy work. I need to work better on this area. Like maybe I would group a certain part of drops like that, and they would be like catching more shadow here, and in the back right there, some other group of drops, it would be catching a lot more of the reflection from the sky, so it would be like a brighter spot, and in between them there's our cyan colored foot of the frog. And it already starts looking much more interesting because it actually starts making some sort of sense. Even though we know perfectly well that it's probably never gonna look like that in reality. If you look at splashes like that, they would be a lot more chaotic, a lot more detailed. So detailed that grouping them in such big shapes would make kind of little sense. But if you just apply a little bit of imagination, some extra of those drops could be grouped together still, you know, and you can just make it talk to the viewer a bit more than what a random chaos would. And you see, inside of these shapes, I'm adding some variation, some texture, already all kinds of different drops going on, but there are a lot lower contrasts. So when you zoom out, it's still two different shapes. Bright one and dark one. When we zoom in, we can see more detail to it, so it doesn't look like just some kind of vector cartoon artwork, and everything seems rich enough and at the same time pretty satisfying and like making sense. I'm gonna make the shape of this frog a little bit close into like a bean that is folded in this area in the back. There's a butt, a very fun, playful butt. And yeah, there we go, it feels a bit more exciting. The frog is excited. We're all bored, of course. We're always bored. How can you be excited with anything when we have the quality of entertainment content, this one not included, but like Hollywood stuff, that is just, if someone from like 19th century would see it, they would literally go insane probably. It's so saturated, so unbelievably perfect. And then you just walk outside and it's all just sitting there, nothing happening. It's so weird, like we're drug addicts, but the drug is just the saturation of events in artificial content. Oh, there you go, look at how much more fun she's having. Yeah, it's a she. She's strong, independent, and she likes dancing in the rain. Actually, some animation going on. Alright, I kinda like what we have on the right side now. Now the weakest part is probably this tree and Gilbert in here. So let's add a little bit of a hint on the outfit and do some of the action with the leaves on that tree over there. Gilbert, where are you at? There you go, good shot. So I assume this is gonna be the jacket like that. a better curvature. Since Gilbert is pointing away from us, it makes sense that the curvature is like this. There we go, that seems a lot more fun. I like the way I did these trees right now. I unfortunately don't think I actually saved the previous stage of it. But yeah, what I did is I introduced a whole bunch of like realistic looking leaf details using almost like just outlines and breaking the shapes of these groups of leaves into like two parts, the shadow part and the light part. The shadow part and the light part. And inside of them there's very few variation, but you're just looking for some kind of abstractions, some kind of brushwork that doesn't look repetitive and, well, looks at least somewhat close to actual leaves. So yeah, that's pretty much the point, isn't it? And yeah, overall, it somewhat gives you like the realistic amount of details, but at the same time makes sense out of the whole thing with good segregation of shapes. Really cool. I really think I need to practice that a lot more. Like in this earlier page, like this grass right here, it's just like uniform grass of nothing. It just shouldn't look like that. Pretty much everything can be interpreted in this kind of logic. But yeah, I guess there's enough logic for this page. Rest of it is again gonna be just pretty much a whole bunch of hardcore detailing. And that'll be it. Tell me guys what you think. Hope my talk on the way details and shapes should work together to make any picture look more realistic and at the same time worth looking at. I hope that talk actually made sense. Share your thoughts on that subject. I think it's really cool and I really want to like dig deeper into that because that seems like a great next step for me to think about. Like I was working on brushwork a lot, on lighting, then I really worked on implementing a realistic strong contrast, and now I'm really into the idea of searching for good shapes, like the next little upgrade to my technique. That's a cool thing. And yeah, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! By the way, I don't know if you noticed the more intense fluffiness on my chin. I'm doing the no shave November. Doesn't seem like a lot of progress, but I usually keep this pretty short. The worst part is I don't know when to stop. Do I actually shave it off when November is over? I don't think I'll be able to do that.